guys. Alright, now what we're going to do today is we're going to start by setting up our ball in just a basic ball bounce across the screen. So what we're using this for is to plan our overall action of our character. Okay, so we're going to just set the scene up here, and I'm going to plan out the overall timing of what I want the ball bounce to be and the scene setup. Okay, so right here what I'm going to do is I'm going to start planning the overall timing of the shot. How much time I want the bounces to take going across the screen. Okay, so this is the basic setup. We're thinking about the overall character action here going across the screen. Alright, so what this is going to do is it's going to allow us to plan the overall bounce of our character hopping across the screen. Okay, so you can see here that I've got a very straight linear action here, and that's just showing me the amount of time that I want the character to take as he's going across the screen. And I'm going to start adding in some bounces here. 3 bounces in total, and I've set up very even spaced timing here. Okay, play a very kind of generic bounce across the screen there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to plan how I want my character to bounce. Okay, so or I should say jump across the screen. So at this point I'm going to start planning the overall arcs of the ball, and I'm going to start thinking about the overall timing of the character as he goes across the screen. Okay, so I'm limited to my 44 frames. Actually in this case it's going to be about 40 to 44 frames going across the screen there in total, and then just a final action of the character just landing in place and resting. Okay, so I'm going to start stylizing this action. I'm going to start thinking about what I want the character to look like as he's flying through space. So right now it's a very generic action. You can see there as it's going through, the timing, the spacing is all very similar. So I'm going to have to start thinking about how I want that to feel more cartoon, okay, more cartoony timing as it's going through those actions. Alright, I'm going to start doing a little squash and stretch here. Okay, this is one way of planning it out. This is my way of planning out a cartoony action. You can do whatever works for you. I like using something very simple, very easy to manage. I'm not having to deal with a lot of, fancy character rig stuff. All I'm thinking about is the basic bounce or the hop across the screen. Okay, I'm not trying to pull off a realistic ball bounce here. I'm not trying to do like a tennis ball bouncing across the screen. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to think about how I want my character to feel as he's flowing through the scene. Alright, so I'm just continuing a little squash and stretch there, and I'm gonna have that character land down and then squash into the bottom. Get a nice little change in shape there. Alright, almost finished putting in some squash and stretch there. That final pose, stretch that tip of the nose right down into the final squash. Nice change of shape there, and smack, comes into the final position. Alright. Okay, so right now we got a little squash and stretch in there, but we can see that our ball is still a little generic in its overall timing and spacing. So now we're going to start spicing that up a little bit, putting a little more flavor into that overall timing and feel of our character going through air. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start playing with the amount of time in that center jump. Give it a little more time overall to give a little more hang time in my character. Because what I want to do there is I want to have my character leap up, do a spin, and then shoot the bow and arrow as it's going through the scene. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how much time do I want that character to have in its center jump there. Alright, so you can see me adjusting the overall timing here with my keys. I'm thinking about adding a little more hang time in that second jump. Okay, that's starting to feel a little more stylized now, just what I want. Now this is making my ball feel like it's starting to come alive a little bit. It's not that stagnant ball anymore, alright, or not that generic feel to it. I'm getting a little more cartoony play in there, and that's what I'm utilizing this for. I'm utilizing this method to plan that overall stylized action as a character. You could think of a character doing anything in this. In my case, it's the character jumping across, doing 3 jumps and doing a spin in the middle and then shooting a bow and arrow. But you could plan it doing anything. You could have, a character is running through a scene, jumps in through a window, lands into the living room of a character's house, and and does something crazy in air as he's going through air. That complicated motion can be all planned out with a very simple object. Okay? And it just, in animating, the best thing to do is just step back and think about the simplest way you can figure out an action. Alright? We don't just want to copy real life, we want to stylize real life. Okay, and that's what we're utilizing this for. Alright, there we go. You see, now we're starting to get a little play in there, a little more stylized feel to that ball. It's not just feeling like a regular ball bounce, we're starting to feel like there's the life to it, there's a character in that ball. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to plan out here. Do a little more finessing on that squash and stretch there that's coming into the final position. A little figuring out on the arcs there. I'm utilizing AnimBot. You can check out animbot.ca for the tool that I'm using there to plan the arc of the character going through air. It's probably the best animation tool set on the market. Alright, so definitely check that out, and please support Ellen on Patreon if you haven't done so already. Alright, so now we're just trying to finalize that final bounce going in there, making sure that all our arcs now are working the way we want them to. Just finishing up a little bit of that squash and stretch there. Okay, and then once I got this planned out and I got the feeling the way that I want it to be, I'm going to take these images, do a little play blast, throw that over into a drawing program. In my case, I'm going to throw it into TV Paint, and I'm going to pose out my character on top of this, okay? So I'm utilizing this to plan out that overall action of what I want the character to be, and then I'm going to take that and I'm going to put an overlay on top of it and pose out my character. And then I can have fun just playing with the poses of the character. So I'm doing one thing at a time, right? I'm planning out the overall action of what I want the character to do as it's hopping through the scene, get a nice little stylized action there, and then I'm going to start posing and playing with those poses of the character and, separating the two. I'm separating my thinking here. I'm doing like my overall action, and then I'm going to think about just my poses and how I want to stylize those poses on top of that action. Alright guys, let's do this play blast now. Take these images over into TV Paint and we'll start posing out our character. Alright, we'll see you in the next part, guys. Bye bye.